the number one motivation why professionals spend so much time in community and engage is they want to learn and grow.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Inside Community-Led Growth, where we speak to industry experts about how customer communities can power real business impact. Today, I'm joined by the incredibly experienced Dani Weinstein. Dani, can you just give us a brief intro into who you are and what you do?
So, Dani Weinstein here. I've been in the community. I've held community leadership roles going back to 2008. So, real quickly, the ground floor of the HP social care team, where we built and scaled 7-language communities for HP consumer support. Had great success there. Our team won multiple Groundswell awards along the way. From there, went on to 2 unicorns, Domo and Kaltura pre-IPO. Went through the IPO process, built and scaled the B2B community, soup to nuts. And more recently, in 22, I joined SAP to help drive the strategy for their community. They've got a great ecosystem with community being around for more than 20 years, and really trying to get the vision for elevating it to the next level going forward.
Yeah, lots of experience there building communities in different organizations of different sizes. What does community-led growth mean to you from all that experience?
So when I think about community, it's really about how do you harness the power of your customer ecosystem to drive value for your customers and ultimately for the brand. And it's not just about the domain. It's not just about your website community let's say sap.com. It's really about the collective engagement that you have with your customers. And it's not just between the brand and the customers, it's also between the customers and their peers and people who have anything about to say around a particular brand. So that can happen certainly in the hub, community.x.com, but it also takes place where the customer where they want to engage, whether that be on Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, Stack Overflow, YouTube, etc., as well as all of the user groups and meetups and hybrid events that happen. That's collectively your community. And so when it's done right and you are facilitating conversations for people to ask questions, get answers, share best practices, figure out how do I extract to get the most value out of my investment in your product. That can come from anybody. It's really facilitating that experience. And then beyond that, it's ensuring that as your customers are having a great experience, they have a place that they can go and share their passion for the brand and talk about how it's impacting their work life or their personal life. And when it's done right, that ultimately elevates the brand. It drives clearly people find answers in community. They're not going to call you for support. So it drives support deflection. It creates great content. And so that creates an archive, really a greenfield for your knowledge base and your learning teams to harvest and mine that great content so that more people can get access to it. More importantly, it creates an ecosystem for advocacy. I mean, today we're in a world of customer references. When people go shopping and go to Amazon and look at reviews, if they go to watch something on Netflix, it's the same situation. And so community is no different. People want to have validation that somebody like them has already used this product and they're not going to run into any kind of pitfalls and they're going to have a good experience. So creating that ecosystem of advocates that drive value, particularly in the business world when we talk about B2B, that really can drive and have a direct impact on upsells, retention, as well as mitigating churn. And so there's tons of data out there. And if you've got active members that are participating and contributing in your collective community that are at a brand, they're actually going to influence positively those numbers on how much stickiness they have in your product. At the end of the day, you're helping your customers learn and grow with you. They're basically figuring out better ways to use your product. If you're using your product more, the product's more stickier, and ultimately they will have bigger thirst and demand for your business. And then lastly, it's an amazing way to have voice of customer. I mean, research costs a lot of money, and you're actually capturing the voice of customer, particularly around product feedback and ideation. That typically shows up around 20% of the conversations in online community. I'm trying to figure something out. There's no answer, or ultimately the answer is, well, we can't do that yet. Go submit a feature request. And so harnessing that in a collective capacity drives efficiencies, but it also allows for your product teams to have a healthy conversation with your customers. So it's all of the above, and all those things together can drive value for a business.
Why do you think now is a particularly important time for businesses that maybe haven't already invested in community, or businesses that have already invested in community but want to take things to the next level and really elevate that experience? Why do you think it's particularly important now?
Well, now more than ever, I think that we're seeing a dichotomy with the the downturn in the economy. I think there's some businesses are having a knee-jerk reaction and looking at community as a cost center, and they're letting entire teams go or a lot of people go, which is frankly tragic. And it could be a reflection of the great work that's already done. They're like, well, they built a great community, it can run without them, but I think that's sort of penny wise pound foolish. On the flip side, I am seeing other businesses, including SAP, double down and invest in community. And really, there's no better time than today. And the reason being, resources are tight. And community, when done right, allows businesses to scale dramatically because you're leveraging the power of your entire community. And so facilitating those conversations and driving efficiencies justifies that investment.
And what do you think are the main elements of a community for people to feel like they can contribute? So they are contributing their ideas, their feedback, their content as well. What's the catalyst for that to happen in your mind?
So again, if we're talking about the online space, first and foremost, we know that the majority of people are what we call lurkers. They're driving by, they're visiting, they're Googling a question, they're Googling for information, they're reading, they're consuming, they're moving on. That's not going to change. It's at minimum 70%. In some cases, it's as much as 90%. Having said that, there's a very important population that wants to engage. They want to ask questions. They want to answer questions. They want to comment. They want to blog. They want to suggest ideas. They want to like something. That's that remaining 10 to 30%. And for them, you need to make the experience as easy as possible. It's got to be seamless to log in. It's got to be seamless to click a button to ask a question. They need to be able to format that question very easily. It's got to be very, this whole system has to respond. So these are sort of ABCs of just a digital experience. And that's true whether it be on your desktop and your mobile phone. And that's in your core hub. But also there may be other platforms they prefer to engage, whether, again, Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, etc. And the brand needs to have the right tools to kind of follow the relevant conversations, listen, and engage where appropriate. So having said all that, you need to be able to structure the experience such that your power customers or members are encouraged to answer questions of others quickly, especially if they have knowledge, that they're encouraged to get, that you're setting up the structure to recognize people that are, contributing a lot to the community, potentially earn, discounts to your conferences, to certifications, access to the product teams, or early release beta, all of the above. At the end of the day, in a B2B world, the number one motivation why professionals spend so much time in community and engage is they want to learn and grow. I'm an IT manager at, let's say, Citibank, and I'm managing a team of 10, 15 people, and I'm deploying your software. Well, I'm getting measured on, my VP is measuring me on the success of how well, what kind of value we're getting out of that investment. And so I need to figure out ways to optimize my team's hours, the features that are available from the vendor. And community is a great way to stay abreast of best practices and learning and growing and making sure that you're getting the most out of that product real time, and also understand if a new release is coming, what's the best way to go about doing that. And so as they do that, they want to get recognized as an expert. So that recognition through either ranking a community, through certification and learning, that's the most important piece, because then they can put that on their LinkedIn profile, they can put that on their resume, they can use that to get promoted or to go get recruited across the street and get a better job. Everything else, the swag, the badges, that's all nice. That's not the number one motivation. The number one motivation is really the recognition of the expertise. And as you do that, those folks essentially become an extension of your team, because they're becoming trusted advisors. And then you can actually feature them. You can actually invite them to blog, or you can actually invite them to be part of a corporate blog, or speak at a user group, or be on stage with our CEO at our major conferences. All of the above. That's part of that recognition currency that we use. That's driving the vibrancy and the lifeblood of the community. And so when people that are driving by and reading and they're seeing, wow, there's like this person that's got a great knowledge, then that encourages them, I want to connect with that person. They become more attracted to the community. And again, community can take on, it's the digital space as well as the in-person space, but that together needs to have one lens and managed very carefully, so that you're nurturing those top 1 or 2 percenters to become, your stars. And they effectively become ambassadors for your brand.
Yeah, definitely that trusted human relationship is definitely core to the the main value that we see communities being able to provide. What would you say are the kind of biggest mistakes or pitfalls that people often fall into when approaching trying to create a community, potentially for the wrong reasons, from your experience?
Sure. And I've seen this many times. At the end of the day, the community, and maybe some people need to be reminded, it is a customer community. The customer needs to be placed first. And so it needs to be about what does the customer want to talk about. In B2B, we typically see three pillars of conversations. There's, traditional Q&A. I've got a question, I need an answer. I'm trying to figure something out. And it's very much sort of a support, alignment. So that's sort of one area. But then there's also best practice discussions. You know what? I just downloaded the latest release, version 8.8, and I've read all the release notes and I've deployed it and I figured out something that's not been documented. Wow, there's like a new use case that nobody captured. So now I want to share that with my friends and community because I want, again, we're elevating the value of that deployment. So there's the best practice piece. And the last one is around the voice of customer, around ideation. Customers who are passionate about your product, they want you to get better and they want to be heard. And so you need to have that venue for that. So you need to start with your existing team, your support team, your people who's talking to your customers today. It's the frontline salespeople, it's the customer success managers, it's your support agents. And understand, well, what are customers talking about? What are their needs? What problems are they trying to figure out? From there, you can then structure what the community should potentially address. And lastly, this is sort of taboo, but I've seen it happen many times, especially when the community's got potential to drive a lot of traffic. When you have the sales and marketing team come in and say, well, we need to, be able to push sales. How much revenue are you going to drive? Can we advertise? Can I get access to your database? And community is not about sales generation leads. That is not what it's about. And that is a pivotal mistake that I've seen, many mistakes. The last thing is this philosophy of, well, if we build it, they will come. It doesn't work that way. Community is a long game. It is like planting a garden. It's got to be about what does the customer want to discuss. You got to start small. You expand based on volume of conversations on this new topic, because then you can grab and go and create a new board. And of course, if you create a section that's not doing well, you need to make that decision. You know what? It's like managing a garden. You can prune it back, cut it back, and it's gonna grow even better.
What communities do you look at for inspiration?
Sure, and there's a lot of great communities out there, and I apologize if I overlook anybody in particular, but the ones that come to mind that I look at for kind of best in class and inspiration are certainly the Atlassian Community, the ServiceNow community, and Mark Obi's done an amazing job over there. Alteryx is a great example. They've done an incredible job of integrating both learning and community into an incredible experience. And then of course, if we look at just, for example, at the from a superfan perspective, I mean, Salesforce is still, I would say, top of class as far as what they have accomplished with with Trailblazer. But there are, I could probably rattle off another half a dozen.
And are there any individuals as well, like community leaders that you particularly respect, or you feel other people should be following for inspiration, really?
My go-to people are Brian Oblinger. And for those of you who don't know me, he started out at college as a moderator with Lithium, had a long career there, and then ultimately went on to Alteryx, Data Robot, and now he's a very successful consultant. Erica Kuhl, who again was the driving force behind Trailblazer. She's there for 17 years. Now she's a successful consultant. Rich Millington over in the UK is a thought leader that we work closely with, and then there's other emerging stars. Even in the space, I would even call it Holly Firestone, who worked closely with Eric on Trailblazer and went over to Venafi, another thought leader, and even the team that she put together over at Venafi. Tiffany Oda is becoming a powerhouse of her own especially in the space of community operations.
Amazing, great list there. Well, Dani, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much for taking the time and sharing your insights with us. Hopefully we can carry this conversation on in the Zapmeter community. Tune in next time for another episode of Inside Community-Led Growth, and we'll see you soon.